Having chosen one, have you ever stopped to consider what is going on with you? Why do you feel cut off from the people you formerly loved? Why do discussions seem pointless? Why does your mind feel clearer than ever, but your heart feel heavier? It's because you're breaking through rather than breaking down. You're awakening spiritually, not going insane. Centuries of conditioning, pain, and delusion are causing your spirit to shake. No matter how complicated, lonely, or chaotic the path may seem, you are stepping toward your actual divine nature. Those who are called to transform not only their own lives, but also the lives of future generations are the ones who should embark on this path. It is not for the weak of heart. We're delving into 7 insightful chapters today to assist you comprehend what you're going through and why it's the greatest blessing that's been disguised as discomfort. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe before we start, because what you're about to hear is a spiritual transmission intended for the chosen ones, not just content. Please leave the number 55 in the comments section below if you're already experiencing a spiritual awakening or if this message speaks to your soul on a deep level. It is a divine code, a signal to the universe that you are in harmony with truth and prepared to completely embrace the next stage of your awakening. It is more than just a number. Only those who have been genuinely selected will be compelled to listen to the complete message, and those who do will get more than just words. They will also experience heavenly remembrance, clarity, and rebirth. You're not here by chance. This message was meant for you, and it will become clearer as your gifts emerge and your ego starts to fade. Therefore, don't be shocked if you return to this often. Each time, your soul will discover something fresh, profound, and holy that was previously obscured. You can feel as like you are standing on a precipice at the start of your spiritual awakening, torn between the life you have always led and something invisible but profoundly beckoning you to move on. Everything feels unsure when you are standing on a threshold, with one foot still rooted in the reality you were taught to accept, and the other foot entering a world of greater truth, profound understanding, and divine alignment. Because of the child-taught version of yourself that has been fashioned by survival, societal indoctrination, and silent pain, you may feel confused and like you're unraveling, which is true in many respects. The part of you that learned to shrink in spaces that couldn't hold your light, the part that performed for approval, the one that remained silent to avoid controversy, and the part that settled for less simply to feel safe. This is the part that was made to cope, not to thrive. Although it sheltered you, that version of yourself was never your best self or your whole truth, and it is now unable to endure. In the energy you are entering, you begin to sense that things are slipping away. It seems like mental suffocation to wear the phony grins you used to wear with ease. You can no longer stand the superficial talks you used to put up with, because they were never really yours. The dreams you once pursued begin to feel empty. You start to realize how much of your existence was based on trying to fit in rather than being true to who you are. And as that insight grows, it upends everything you once thought about yourself. Not only is this a time of transition, but it is also a sacred death, a death of delusions, a death of dependence, a death of false identities. And it hurts, yes. You might weep for no apparent reason, isolate yourself without meaning to, or feel as like you're losing control of reality, but in reality, you're losing the illusion rather than the truth. You're breaking through, not breaking down. Don't just watch, be part of the journey. Hit subscribe now and step into your purpose. The best is yet to come. This is the divine process of letting go of what isn't you in order to ultimately reveal who you really are. It is divine reconstruction rather than devastation. All of the things that dimmed your radiance, bound you to fear, and kept you trapped in cycles that didn't benefit you are being taken away from you because they were never in line with the blueprint of your soul. Every aspect of your life will be impacted by this sacred dismantling. You will begin to lose friendships that were connected to your unhealed identity. You will outgrow places that used to feel like home, but now feel like cages. And you will want to leave everything that requires you to betray your truth. In reality, that is a spiritual purification. Even though it may feel like a storm, you are being reborn into the life you were always meant to live. A life where your light isn't hidden but honored, where your truth isn't silenced but celebrated, and where you don't need to perform to be loved. You just need to be. So, while you should grieve what you must and honor the path that brought you here, don't hold on to what your soul is urging you to let go of. So let everything go, selected one. The real you, the strong, perceptive, radiant soul that God created, is finally emerging. So let the old you go with grace and thankfulness. Beyond this holy death, you will experience divine alignment, miraculous clarity, and a peace you have never experienced before. One of the first obvious changes you'll notice as the awakening intensifies is a sharp rise in your emotional and energetic sensitivity. Everything, really everything, will start to feel to you on a completely different level, with an intensity that might initially startle or even unnerve you. You might find yourself crying uncontrollably, not because of a physical issue, but rather because your heart is letting go of generations of repressed feelings, lifetimes of suffering, and deeply hidden truths that are now coming to the surface. You'll sense the tension in a room, even when no words are said. Even when dishonesty is concealed beneath a smile, you'll be able to see it. Crowds or situations that used to feel typical and familiar will make you feel emotionally exhausted. This is a spiritual recalibration, not emotional instability. Your neurological system is adjusting to higher frequencies. Your energy field is getting more polished and more receptive. Your soul is waking up to vibrations, frequencies, and subtle truths that were once concealed or ignored in your prior state of consciousness. Chosen one, your emotions are not a burden. They are divine signals from your higher self, directing you toward healing, alignment, and deeper self-awareness. That anxiety you feel around certain people, that's your spirit alerting you to energetic misalignment. Your soul is telling you, you've outgrown this. It's time to elevate. When you feel uneasy in your previous surroundings. Spiritual discernment, the sacred capacity to read energy, sense spiritual intent, see past appearances, and feel things that the human sight cannot, is something you are starting to cultivate. Indeed, at first, this may seem overpowering. You might question why certain discussions, situations, or individuals are no longer acceptable to you the way they once were, why casual talk drains your soul, and why toxic energy now seems to penetrate right through you. But consider this: your vibration is rising. You are no longer in rhythm with what drains you. You are now linked with what awakens, heals, and strengthens you. You are becoming an emotional alchemist. You're learning how to transform sorrow into power, sadness into grace, sensitivity into supernatural strength. And your heart, though more exposed, is also becoming more durable and divinely clever. This emotional sensitivity is not a curse, it's your new divine protection. It functions as your internal compass, screening out energies that are not for you and steering you toward connections, experiences, and settings that support your soul's growth. In time, you'll not just acclimate to this new awareness, you'll master it. It will be used for healing, uplifting, and helping others awaken. What once overwhelmed you will turn into your spiritual superpower, your greatest strength. Therefore, in a society that frequently promotes numbness, don't try to minimize or repress it. Don't apologize for it. Don't numb it. And don't label yourself too much for feeling strongly. You were made to be fully awake, fully alive, and totally divine, not to be numb. You are entering a new sort of power with this increased emotional and energetic awareness, one that is based on compassion, clarity, and sacred sensitivity rather than domination or control. This is because, as the chosen one, the more deeply you feel, the more you heal, and the more divinely you lead. Realizing how much of the universe you formerly took for granted is not normal is one of the most disturbing yet potent aspects of spiritual awakening. All of a sudden, what was solid starts to feel empty. You witness people going about their lives automatically, numbing their agony with diversions, covering their wounds with accomplishments, and gauging their value by things that can never fully fulfill their souls. You begin to see the performative character of society. How often people say what sounds nice instead of what's real. You see the grins that don't reach the eyes, the laughing that covers deep grief, and the ambition that's driven more by fear than purpose. Clarity, but not the reassuring sort, appears in lieu of what feels like a fog clearing. You witness the programming, the systems based on fear, scarcity, and control. You witness how the media shapes perceptions. You witness how culture exalts burnout. And you witness how individuals are indoctrinated from birth to compete, compare, and conform. This insight has the power to completely upend you. It can make the world seem strange, even hostile. It can make you doubt everything, including your relationships, work, and even your own aspirations. However, this is a spiritual vision, not craziness. You're finally reaching the truth beneath the illusion, not losing your sense of reality. Spiritual eyes have been granted to you, allowing you to see past appearances. This insight may first isolate you, but it will also liberate you since you are no longer enthralled by glitz, celebrity, wealth, or position. You are no longer duped by outward appearances or convinced by false promises. Because as you awaken, you become more rooted in what endures: truth, love, integrity, and divine purpose, and less susceptible to deception. Selecting one will make you feel uncomfortable. You could question if you've gone too far, if you've changed too much, and if there's any way to turn back. But realize that you were created to reconstruct the world with truth, not to fit into one that was based on delusion. You are here to awaken people, not by coercion, but by being authentic. You may lose comfort and your identity as a result of this insight, but you will gain something invaluable: spiritual freedom. With this freedom, you will not only be able to live your life more mindfully, but you will also start creating from a higher place. Everywhere you go, you'll carry a light that subtly reveals darkness. You'll choose paths that seem right in your spirit rather than simply your head, and you'll begin forming relationships based on soul rather than ego. Revolutions start with that chosen one, not with shouted voices, but with hearts that have been awakened. An unanticipated wave of loss will start to wash over you as your awakening progresses. Opportunities that you previously thought were meant for you will pass you by. Relationships you once battled to maintain will fall apart, and people you once loved will fade away. Life could seem to be collapsing. Perhaps you're asking yourself, what went wrong? You may even wonder, why is everyone going? But hear this in your soul. Chosen one, you are being aligned, not abandoned. Your life is being refined by God, not diminished. In the next phase of your journey, everything that is dissolving was never intended to endure. Only the previous version of you, the one that concealed your light, disregarded your intuition, and put up with dysfunction, was assigned to some individuals. Anything based on lies cannot last now that you are embracing your truth. Friendships based on codependency, manipulation, or trauma bonding will inevitably fall apart. Potential-based relationships that lack direction will end. Jobs, habits, and places that once felt familiar will start to feel suffocating. And it's hard, it's lonely, but it's holy, because this is God's method of protecting your promise. He is taking away things that could cause you harm, distraction, or delay. He's creating room for fresh relationships that uplift your spirit, honor your limits, and complement your divine calling. It may feel like solitude, but it's actually incubation. It may appear to be rejection, but it's actually redirection. It may seem like endings, but it's actually a heavenly beginning that will only make sense in hindsight. Every door that closes indicates that something better is about to happen. Every friendship that fades indicates that you have outgrown what no longer works for you. And every setback is a whisper from heaven that something better is on the horizon. Therefore, avoid pursuing what God is attempting to reveal. Stay away from things that were just intended to teach. Rather, have faith in the divine unwinding. If you need to mourn or grieve, do so, but know that your soul is not losing. Rather, it is positioning itself for more. Greater alignment, more serenity, more love that reflects your progress rather than your wounds. This season, chosen one, may seem barren, but it's simply God making room for what your soul genuinely deserves. What's coming won't force you to compromise, shrink, or chase after anything, since it will be predetermined. A great force, something old, something sacred, something dormant, but not dead, starts to arise inside you as the veil lifts and your spirit reawakens. Chosen one. You wake up at 3 a.m. You start having prophetic dreams, visions that seem too real to be coincidence, and you start to detect things that others miss, having the impression that your spirit is being called forth. The digits 111, 444, and 77 appear repeatedly on clocks, receipts, and car plates. It seems as though the universe is addressing you personally. And it is, you are being awakened. Your spiritual gifts, which you have long before this life and which were concealed to keep you safe until the right moment, are being restored. You can no longer repress these gifts when your consciousness rises. Your intuition becomes more acute. You start to sense people's genuine intents before they speak. You start to read energy, distinguish spirits, and hear heavenly guidance even in quiet. You become sensitive to light, truth, and God's voice that whispers among the chaos. These are revelations, not hallucinations. You're remembering who you really are, not making stuff up. The world has attempted to forget that you have always been unique and different. They advised you to be more subdued, realistic, and to blend in. But now that the illusion is dissolving, your true self and your divine abilities are emerging. Helping others may become your calling, whether it is through healing, speaking the truth, writing, creating, teaching, or guiding. Ancient wisdom, scripture, dreams, nature, energy, and the stars may beckon you. These are your spiritual fingerprints that disclose your heavenly assignment. So don't overlook them. Don't just watch, be part of the journey. Hit subscribe now and step into your purpose. The best is yet to come. You are a soul with a heavenly blueprint brought here with purpose, not merely a body moving through the planet. Perhaps you are a light bearer, called to bring clarity to confusion. Perhaps you are a healer, able to transform suffering into light. Perhaps you are a seer, able to see what others miss. Or perhaps you are a bridge, bridging the gap between the spiritual and material worlds to bring divine truth into human comprehension. The proper individuals will sense your frequency and see the brightness in your presence, even if the world doesn't always comprehend you. Thus, have faith in what is emerging. Don't shrink to fit into areas you've outgrown, or minimize your gifts to please others. Now is the time for you to accept the mystical realities of who you are. You are gifted. You are not broken. You're called. You're not insane. You are exactly on divine time, not late. Heaven is prepared to use you now that you are walking in awareness. Your gifts are not meant to amuse. Rather, they are meant to heal, elevate, and awaken. Every awakening journey has a moment when you look in the mirror and realize that the person you see there is someone you don't recognize. You no longer find any purpose in the things that used to excite you, such as titles, awards, and applause. The persona you fought so hard to develop begins to fall apart. It's actually a breakthrough, even though it feels like a breakdown. Ego death is the sacred process of shedding all of the versions of yourself that were based on trauma, fear, survival, and false validation. The false self, the self that felt worth, was earned. The self that sacrificed authenticity for approval, the self who performed for love, kept quiet to maintain harmony, or settled for less to prevent loneliness, is, in a very real sense, dying. This version of you needs to be put to rest because it cannot carry the burden of your calling or enter your promised land. However, resurrection occurs after this death. Your true self, the divine, fearless, dazzling version of yourself that isn't shaped by trauma, culture, or expectations, emerges with strength and clarity from the ashes of the ego. You start to recall who you were before society dictated your identity. You come to understand that you are a soul on a divine mission, temporarily encased in flesh but fundamentally eternal. Not your work, your past, or your suffering. It may bring tears, loneliness, and confusion, but it also provides peace, the type of calm that is beyond comprehension. This rebirth is vulnerable and raw. You begin to feel whole, even when you're alone. You begin to feel rich, even with less. You begin to love yourself without condition, without requiring anybody else to confirm your worth. You no longer move from fear. You move from faith. You no longer react out of pain. You respond with presence. You no longer try for validation. You simply exist in truth. And from that truth, everything begins to align. Your voice develops power. Your presence adds weight. Your life becomes sacred ground. Therefore, don't try to revive what God is burying. Don't fight the ego death. Release yourself from the mask, the act, and the dread. Beneath the cacophony, you are at last returning to who you have always been. You are not losing yourself. The world has been waiting for you to rise, and this is the true you, the chosen one, the soul that has been awakened, the light in the darkness. A divine truth rises within you like a silent but unquestionable flame as your awareness develops and the illusions start to fade. You begin to understand that all you went through, including the loneliness, the bewilderment, and the intense inner pain, was never random. Rather, it was the divine forming, sculpting, and preparing you. You were called, selected by divine intelligence, marked long before this life, and set apart for a task greater than your intellect could have imagined when you first woke up. You were never insane, too much, or broken. You are one of the chosen ones, sent here to change, to bring light to places that have forgotten the sun, to be the living example that truth still breathes and healing is possible. You carry a unique frequency, vibration, and blueprint from heaven itself, which is why you were born unusual. You arrived to reroute the crowd, not to follow it. Even when you attempted to ignore it, life continued to shatter you until you finally paid attention to the pull. The feeling that something bigger was calling you louder than the sounds of the outside world. The heartaches, sacred teachers, the trials, initiation. Because the chosen are forged in the wilderness. You were exalted each time you were rejected and redirected each time you were isolated. You were not created to win over everyone. Rather, you were created to be in harmony with the divine, which frequently necessitates distancing oneself from the delusions, diversions, and erroneous relationships of this world. You are now remembering that you woke up not only for yourself, but also for generations past and future. Because your energy doesn't whisper, it echoes, so you're the voice they attempted to silence, the spirit they couldn't imprison, and the presence they couldn't understand but couldn't ignore. You're the curse breaker, the light bearer, and the spiritual leader for those who are still stuck in the dark. The miracle is that you are not alone. Like you, there are others who walk with humility, authority, and silence. Despite their lack of volume, they are there. Despite their dispersion, they are bound together by a shared spirit, a common goal, and divine alignment. You belong to a soul tribe that has been selected to bring the new consciousness into an outdated, dying system, a sacred remnant. If you've ever asked yourself, why me? It's because you were fortunate to rise from the ashes and your spirit was made for the flames. Now, you are rising, not with pride, but with memory. Not to rule, but to shine. Not to impress, but to influence. Now is your moment. Chosen one. Don't turn around and keep moving forward in that reality. Select one and pay attention. You're rediscovering your soul, not going insane. You're realigning with the truth, not disintegrating. This is preparation, not punishment. The world is becoming quieter so that your spirit may speak. Confusion is being cleared, illusions are dispelling, and the fear-based version of you is vanishing while a sacred metamorphosis takes place. Thus, inhale. Feel the earth under you. Even when it seems like no one can relate, you are not alone. This is your cocoon period, when seclusion leads to self-discovery and quiet becomes revered. It's all working toward your becoming. Trust the process. Trust the shedding. Trust the suffering that educates. Trust the stillness that communicates. Trust the winding route. Give yourself over to the change. Allow the masks to come off, the ego to disintegrate, and the old identities to vanish. Because the version of you that was molded by fear, limitation, and survival has served its purpose. It kept you alive. It fulfilled its job. However, you are now being called to flourish. In order for the divine you, the you that is based on truth, purpose, and spirit, to emerge, the old you had to die. This is your spiritual rebirth, chosen one. Power, clarity, and a task that only you can accomplish await you on the other side of this awakening.